Hi, I'm Mike Ryan. I like maps, and I like turquoise. So it goes to reason, I like turquoise maps. Now, a lot of people in the trade don't like turquoise maps. They're afraid that a map showing the location of their turquoise claim is going to lead to what we call high graders, those who will come to steal turquoise off of legitimate claims. Others, primarily collectors, they love the maps. They love to know where these turquoise that they enjoy so much is located. Now, there are two features that all of the maps we're going to see today have in common. One, they all have some representation, either a drawing or a photo, or we're going to see in one instance some actual turquoise stones of the different mines. And they're going to have some indication of where that turquoise mine is located. Now, another thing that they almost all share in common is that the locations are pretty much, by and large, inaccurate. And I don't know if this is from design to mislead people about the actual locations or just simply in error. I know my co-author, Philip Chambless, he and I were having a conversation one day, and I mentioned that most of the locations in the turquoise mines were inaccurate. And his reply was, good. Well, that's a prospector's perspective. In any case, we do find in all the maps that the locations are most accurate in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona. And that's not surprising because in those states, the majority of the mines are associated either with cities or with copper mines. And so it's pretty easy to understand where Bisbee is located. In Nevada is where we see a wide range of inaccuracy in a lot of the maps. Part of it is because of scale. I mean, even when you're accurate on these maps in showing the general area of where the turquoise claim is located, you're really not going to be very close because of the scale of the maps themselves. And also in Nevada, that real estate gets pretty crowded, pretty quick when you're trying to show all of these locations in a fairly small map area. So that's just some background on turquoise maps. So let's take a look at some turquoise maps. This first map we're going to look at has a date of 2004. It says the artist is Carol Prophet, copyright Mike Ross. Now, I'm not familiar with these folks, really don't know the story on this, but this is a map that is very commonly seen in the marketplace. And, you know, it's kind of nice. It's got some really nice representations of different turquoise. As I mentioned earlier, we see here in Colorado, we see the King Manasseh, which is next to Manasseh, Villa Grove and Villa Grove, Leadville, Cripple Creek. Generally fairly accurate. I mean, by the way, it's a pretty small area for Colorado. I mean, not much of a map there. Same way in New Mexico and down here in the Tyrone area, down in Grant County. Fairly accurate here with Bisbee and Morenci, a Globe in this area, and then the Kingman. Now, as I discussed in our introduction, where we really start to get into some issues here is in Nevada. And there's a lot of turquoise represented here, so it does get kind of crowded. And we don't have any marks about where the cities are. So generally when you have a reference, which would be Tonopah in the south, Austin in the middle, and then Battle Mountain up here, it makes it a little easier to get a sense of where these different claims are located. But for example, here we have Lander Blue located and Stormy Mountain located right next to Lander Blue. That's not accurate at all. Fox, Red Mountain, Not too far off, we have Godber and McInnes, pretty accurate there as far as their relationship. And then down here in Esmeralda County, it just gets to be kind of a hodgepodge here. We really can't see what the relationship is to Tonopah. But by and large, really not too bad a job in terms of trying to locate within, again, the scalability on the map of Nevada. Very difficult to have any real accuracy. This next map we're going to look at, it was made by Sunwest Silver Company, and that's Ernie Montoya's company. And Ernie is the undisputed king of turquoise. He has perhaps the largest collection I know of turquoise, and he's such a reputable person in the turquoise trade and in the Indian jewelry trade. But we're going to see here with this map that while there are some beautiful representation of turquoise here, wonderful photos, some very high-grade examples of the turquoise, some of the locations are completely off, and I'm not sure why that was, if somebody just didn't make the extra effort to make that correction. I'll give an example here. We'd mentioned how it's pretty easy in Colorado because you just got to get the city straight. But here we have Cripple Creek that's located at where Colorado Springs is. And Colorado Springs is about 45 miles or so from where Cripple Creek should be, somewhere over in this area. So that's a pretty easy correction to make. Cerrillos is fine, as are these ones down here in Grant County. These representations here, Tyrone, Hachita, Bisbee, Morenci, these are all fine, just as we saw in the other map. When we get to Nevada, once again, that's where we start to see the problems. Lander Blue, very famous mine. Everybody knows where it is. Here we have it represented as being northeast of Crescent Valley, when in actuality, it's just slightly southwest of Crescent Valley. Pixie, number 8's pretty accurate. That's okay up here in this area. Pixie is up here next to number 8. Pixie is down here in the southern end of Crescent Valley. Stormy Mountain, pretty good. It's accurate there. Again, Fox is not up here in the northern end of Crescent Valley, but in the very southern end of Crescent Valley. Red Mountain is just way, way off. Red Mountain is down here. So these are all situations I'm not quite sure. Surprisingly, you'd think Caraco Lake, which is Ernie's claim, you think he would certainly know that it's not on this side of Grass Valley or Crescent Valley, but it's on this side over in this area. So by and large, the locations on this map are way off. We have Tonopah represented here, Candelaria represented as being east of Tonopah, when in actuality it is going to be west of Tonopah by quite a few miles here. So once again, when you're looking at this map, you really have to take these locations with a real grain of salt, because they really are, in many instances, way off. Here we have a more recent map from 2017 by Winfield Trading Company. Of course, the Winfield family has been involved in turquoise since the 1950s. Very well respected in the turquoise trade. And we see here, as we might expect, we see some really beautiful representations of the different examples of the turquoise. And I think with a lot of these maps, that may be the best takeaway we have, is how clearly they really define how the different turquoise mines have different looks of turquoise. We have, again, in Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona, fairly accurate as far as where our mines are located. No problem with that. I went ahead and because of the way they have the scale, and this of course has more of a topographical features there, I went ahead and added, just in general, where the locations of the main cities, the three main, so we say turquoise cities in Nevada, Tonopah, Austin, and Battle Mountain. And some of these locations are not bad. Some of them are just terrible. They're off. Pixie, again, is not up here just near Battle Mountain. Carlin, pretty good. Timberline is represented as being up here almost in like Eureka County. And actually, Timberline was just a marketing term for Nevada Blue. And Nevada Blue is not bad. It's fairly good in terms of its relationship to Austin. Smoky Valley is put up here where it's going to be up near Austin, where it's actually more down here in Nye County. Some down here in Esmeralda, not too bad. Certainly Candelaria getting a better representation, especially with respect to Easter Blue. Pilot Mountain is off here. Pilot is represented down here, which would make it southeast of Candelaria, and actually it's above. So I'm just giving you an example. I'm sure it's very hard to see here because we don't really zoomed in enough in here. But once we get down here into this Esmeralda area around Tonopah and that, you have to be very careful about where that representation of that turquoise really is. In this last map, which is my favorite, I think it's really quite exceptional, made by Randall Marchese. Randall's a longtime turquoise cutter, turquoise miner. You can read Randall's story of his time at Red Mountain in Turquoise in America Part 2, 1910 to 1990. And Randall put together this really a map in a box. And he told me he was really concerned about the accuracy of many of the maps. So he took a lot of time and effort here. And of course, what is really exceptional is the fact that rather than using photographs, he actually included high-grade examples from the various claims. And that is really quite exceptional. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit here in a minute, and we can really get a better look at some of this turquoise and see really the quality of this. And you just don't often see this sort of dedication to putting this type of turquoise into an effort like this. I think I only know of one other map that Randall made like this, but I don't know if he's made any others. In any case, I really can't complain too much about the various locations. There are some inconsistencies. Everybody seems to have a problem with Pixie, so I guess that's just kind of goes with the territory for the map makers. And in some of the other instances, for example, McGinnis is located up here, much more up in the Tenabo group, where actually it's down here, much closer to Austin. But again, it's in relationship to where you have your basic groups of claims that all relate to each other. So I like this down here where we saw in Ernie's map, he had Pilot and Candelaria were so off, but here we have Candelaria and Pilot, good relationship there. Nice one with Royston. Lone Mountain, all right, it's off a little bit. Crow Springs is pretty accurate, maybe a little bit over this way. Lone Mountain more down in this direction. But I think I'm getting a little bit nitpicky here because by and large, this is really quite an exceptional map. So let's take a little closer look. It's still kind of difficult in the light, but I think we can see here with the Lander Blue, Indian Mountain, Orville Jack, Fox, these are all really fine examples of the turquoise from these mines. And you really get an example of very high-grade turquoise examples from these different mines, which is really quite extraordinary. Kudos to Randall for doing that. So here we get a nice look at, really pretty close-up look at Northern Lights, where we get to see those characteristic greens out of Northern Lights. Really wonderful high-grade very high grade, some of the highest grade of Lander blue. My gosh, that's probably 5 to 10 carat stone. And I think for those of you who know the price of Lander blue, you know that is quite a pricey stone to have here in a map. And then of course, Indian Mountain, wonderful example of Indian Mountain. So we've seen various examples of turquoise maps.